Believe me when I say you haven't seen anything yet when it comes to the spectacle James Wan has crafted with Aquaman. But does the film manage to be more than just visually pleasing? My thoughts on the film coming up. What is up, everyone, and welcome to Men vs. Movies. I'm Griffin. As always, if this is your first time checking out one of our videos, consider hitting that subscribe button where we take on the best and worst of cinema on a weekly basis. Aquaman is Conjuring director James Wan's latest big picture, and it stars Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Nicole Kidman, Willem Dafoe, and Patrick Wilson. The film tells the origin story, essentially, of the half-Atlantean, half-human Arthur Curry, and takes him on the journey of a lifetime, one that will not only force him to face who he really is, but to discover if he is worthy of who he was born to be, and that is the King of Atlantis. I'm just gonna cut straight to the chase here. James Wan is a goddamn madman. I tweeted out that phrase and I'm gonna use it again because this film, Aquaman, is nuts. There is so much creativity exploding out of this film. It's a wholly original world, the likes of which I have never experienced before. What James Wan has truly done here is introduced us to a new fantasy epic that kids especially are really going to enjoy. If I was about 10 years old, I would tell you right now, walking out of this film, it'd probably be my favorite movie of the year. And even walking out as a 23-year-old, I still had my mind blown. What James Wan is able to do is he's able to make the world of the seven seas, of Atlantis, of all of these locations that we go to throughout the course of the film come to life. And it makes you feel as though you're in a different universe. You don't feel like you're even remotely near planet Earth throughout the course of this film. Wan is definitely pulling from the masters of world building themselves, Peter Jackson and James Cameron, yet giving himself a distinct voice. And as a result, it doesn't really feel like anything else but itself. I mean, we have people riding on hammerhead sharks, dinosaurs randomly appearing. We have an octopus playing the drums during a gladiator battle. This is all shit that is in the movie and sounds absolutely ludicrous, like it wouldn't be able to work. But James Wan finds a way to really play into the heart of who Aquaman is as a character and embrace the more ridiculous elements that come with the character and the world he belongs to. And much like what Wan pitched originally when he said he was going to take on the project of Aquaman, he gives us a swashbuckling epic adventure film, the likes of which I haven't seen in a very long time. It's an absolute blast from start to finish, and even though it's clocking in at around 2 hours and 20 some minutes, I never once felt the length of the film because of how invested I was in Arthur's journey and the world of Atlantis. Narratively speaking, I think Aquaman is the most focused and cohesive story we've gotten out of the DCEU thus far. It's got a traditional 3-act structure, and all of the buildup they do in the first 2 acts really pays off in one of the most absurd and flat-out epic conclusions to a film I have seen in a very long time. And going off of that epic climax, the action in general in Aquaman is truly jaw-dropping. Starting off real strong with this great action sequence featuring Nicole Kidman's Atlanta as she takes down some Atlantean guards. It's done as a one-take and really showcases James Wan's style. Obviously, the rooftop chase we've seen from the trailers, it's even better than what we have seen. And that to me especially felt like a traditional adventure chase with really creative camera work. The final battle between Arthur and Orm and the converging of the two armies is epic scale Lord of the Rings quality battles without feeling like Lord of the Rings. We've got people riding seahorses, these like demon spiders being attacked, these whales coming in and all sorts of creatures and
sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
It's beyond ridiculous, but nonetheless is a very fun time. And then of course we have the trench dive where Arthur and Mira jump off the boat with the red flare. And that very well may have been my favorite sequence out of the entire film. And in that sequence in particular, I really appreciated how Wan utilized the full frame of the IMAX cameras. Which brings me to my next point, which is the fact that this is a film that absolutely absolutely must be seen on the largest screen you possibly can. It was made for IMAX. Over 75% of the film, I feel, was shot with IMAX cameras, and it really shows. It helps immerse you into this world, and it helps make the grand epic moments even more grand in scale. And of course, what enhances this even more is the score by Rupert Gregson-Williams, who did the score for Wonder Woman, coming back for Aquaman, and he knocked my socks off. We get a mix of Tron Legacy-esque synth score with traditional full-blown orchestra in an adventure tone. We have an amazing Aquaman theme and supporting themes for several of the characters, and a nice little guitar riff for Arthur Curry. It's an exceptional score, one of Rupert Gregson-Williams' best, if not his best. Now, I've mentioned the word adventure several times throughout the course of this review, and that's something that Aquaman really gets right. It really captures the heart and fun found in an old school adventure film. We travel across a vast sea of locations, both under and above water, all with peril and danger rearing its head at every corner. And what I really like is how all of these elements really beef up Arthur's arc in his journey of self-discovery and realizing what he has to do in order to become the rightful king of Atlantis. And speaking of Arthur, let's touch on him and the rest of the characters next. Jason Momoa is simply the man. He really owns the role of Aquaman, and I really enjoyed his relationship with Tamora Morrison, who plays his father. They not only had great chemistry together, but you could truly feel the bond between father and son, especially in several scenes where they're at bars drinking together. And that's not the only character I thought he had pretty good chemistry with. I really enjoyed his relationship with Mira and how that evolved throughout the course of the film. She plays such an integral part in helping Arthur realize his true potential. And not only that, but I think Heard gives a great performance as well. She was definitely one of the standouts to me. She was strong, she was badass, yet you got to see a little bit of her vulnerable side when she was alone with Arthur. I won't dive too much into his character, but Patrick Wilson as Orm or Ocean Master is exactly the kind of villain you would want in an adventure epic such as this. Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Black Manta is so awesome, and what really blew me away is how they were able to translate the literal look from the comics of Black Manta and make it work in this film. It really didn't bother me or feel out of place. It felt like the natural transition, and although there's this really weird music montage of him building the suit and it feels very tonally out of place, I still dug the character as a whole. He does get some of the more cheesy lines, but that's to be expected with a villain such as him. And the last character I want to touch on is Nicole Kidman as Atlanta, who stole a lot of the scenes for me when she was in it. The opening especially I found to be very emotional, very moving, and it really worked in establishing the relationship between her and Tamora Morrison's character, and her and Arthur, and setting up Arthur to be the person that we know when we meet him at the beginning of the film. And speaking about the relationship between Nicole Kidman and Tamora Morrison, I found that to be the most powerful aspect of this film. You really felt the connection between the two of them and the love, and I thought James Wan did a great job of making that come full circle at the end without giving anything away. The payoff is very well done. I know, I've been gushing over James Wan's creative decisions ad nauseum, and I think they're very well deserved. He takes a lot of risks. This is a very ambitious film, but at the same time, there are some creative choices that I didn't quite understand. I talked a little bit about that music montage with Black Manta. Well, there are several other instances where they play soundtrack music. There's a Pitbull song that plays when they emerge from the water, and it doesn't quite fit. And I think it adds to some tonal issues this film has. On top of that, yes, Aquaman, underwater octopuses playing drums and all sorts of ridiculous stuff. It's gonna be a little bit silly. And it's not the silliness and absurdness that I really have an issue with. It's the cheesiness of some of the characters and, quite frankly, the dialogue. There's a lot of moments where I'm just like, that dialogue isn't, it's not the greatest. Before I give you my final verdict on Aquaman, guys, why don't you take a second here and like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews and movie-related content on a weekly basis. James Wan's Aquaman is a grand spectacle that is absolutely off the walls, insanity, and absurd in all the best ways possible. It's the perfect family film to see this holiday season, along with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. You're gonna have a lot of fun with this one, go on a grand adventure, and by the time the film ends, you're gonna be wanting more from Atlantis and the rest of the Seven Seas. There's no shortage of cheesiness, and there certainly are some questionable creative decisions, but as a whole, I feel that Aquaman functions at giving us some of the best sequences and moments we've seen in the DC Cinematic Universe thus far. And for all of those reasons and the reasons I've mentioned throughout my review, I'm ultimately going to be giving Aquaman Armored Up. And now I want to hear from you all. I want to know what your favorite film in the DC Cinematic Universe is thus far. You can include Aquaman if you've seen it, of course. And then also, if you've seen Aquaman, be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on that down in the comments section below. And be sure, as always, to like Men vs. Movies on Facebook, follow us on Twitter simply by searching Men vs. Movies. And lastly, guys, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can always give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right. That's going to do it for this review, guys, and until next time, take care.